Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Mrugank and Amartya, and we will be briefing you about the webinar for ESI 2020 Electric. So, this webinar will cover the topics like the event changes, changes in rules, changes in the format, and also what we have made it a compulsion to include in the feedbacks and the powertrain systems. So, let's start. So, first, I'd like to introduce you to the changes in the rules. The first change in the rule is that the tractor system should be accessible from at least three sides. In ESI 2019 Electric, we found that the tractor system is accessible from only one side. This makes the TI not only long but as well as difficult. So this time, the rule is that the tractor system should be accessible from at least three sides. The teams are free to use any method that fits in the rules, like they can use a velcro or they can use a sheet metal. So that decision is up to the teams. Moving on is the color coding of the wires. So the team should be careful that, say, the color coding of the high voltage and the low voltage wire shouldn't merge. For example, if your high voltage wire is red in color, the low voltage wire shouldn't be in orange or any other shade of red. So if your high voltage wire is in red color, then the low voltage wire should be black or say any other color that's not a shade of red. As for the next rule is the battery feedbacks. So the battery feedbacks of the voltage and the temperature of the battery have been made compulsory. These two feedbacks should be visible to the driver at all times. The next is the throttle stopper. As we all know that we can't let the motor reach its maximum RPM for a longer time. So this rule has been inculcated to include a throttle stopper to limit the maximum RPM of the motor to 3/4 of its RPM. So say for example, your max RPM of the motor is 6,000, then the motor shouldn't go more than 4,500 at the maximum throttle. The next major change in the rule is the motor power that has been increased. So the motor power has been increased from 6 kilowatts to 12 kilowatts, and the battery has been increased from 48 volts to 52 volts. With this increased motor power and battery, we have we expect the teams to have higher power motors, that means faster. But the point to keep in mind that no AC motors are allowed. Only DC motors are allowed. As for the next major important change in the rule is the allowance of the new mechanical setup to increase the speed. So you can have a mechanical setup or an electromechanical setup between the motor and the wheel, basically to increase the speed. So this setup will be much similar to the CVT of in the combustion category. Now, this setup should be explained very well in the ESF that the team has to submit. Now, the changes in the event format. First of all, the foremost change is the separation of electric and combustion formats. With the separation, the point to be kept in mind is that the endurance for electric and combustion will happen on the same track and for the same duration, that is of 4 hours. But now there will be charging pits near to the track of endurance. The teams have their option to charge their car and they can charge their car whenever they want. So it's the team's decision how to utilize the 4 hours. Say they want to run their car for 2 hours, charge their car for half an hour, and run their car again for the remaining time, it's okay. If they want to charge in the beginning and then run for 3 hours, that's fine. So there is no time limit as to or restriction as to when you will charge your vehicle and when you will run your vehicle. So the utilization of these 4 hours is completely on the team. So this year, the endurance will not only be about running your car for 4 hours, but also how you charge your car. The next change in the event format is the incursion of the ESF that will be mailed to you shortly, and all the points related to ESF, that is the format and everything, will be explained in the mail. And this ESF will be evaluated out of 30 points. Moving on.
Okay, so moving on to electric powertrain packaging. So there are two basic components regarding which there are rules about the packaging. First is the tractive system itself, and the second is the energy storage system. So both of them can be placed anywhere on the chassis as per the team's wishes. However, they must be rigidly mounted to the frame of the car. Also, both the components must be located within the ground plane of the car. The ground plane is any plane that is formed by two or more members on the outside of the chassis. So, for instance, the power storage system, the energy storage system, must be 150 mm within the ground plane, and the tractive system must be 100 mm from the same ground plane. Both the systems must be mounted rigidly to the chassis using fasteners that is mentioned in section 17 of the rulebook, so it has to be graded fasteners. The energy storage system cannot be mounted within the cockpit, such as near the driver's feet or underneath the seat. And the tractive system also must have a firewall between it and the driver. As Mugant mentioned earlier, there must be a rigid cover on the tractive system that is accessible from three sides. Any rotating component in the tractive system, whether it's a chain drive or a gearbox or a CVT, anything of that sort, must have a finger guard similar to what is present in the gearbox rules. Now moving on to the next slide, that is regarding the safety systems. There are three main safety system points to be discussed. The first is the tractive system active light, the TSAL as we call it in the rulebook. So these are actually three lights that must be positioned around the car as per the team's wishes. The requirement is that from any direction in a 10-meter radius circle, at least one or more of the red lights must be visible. The light is supposed to switch on when the tractive system is active. That is, there is power supply to the tractive system. Even if the vehicle is not ready to run, but there is power supply to the tractive system, this light must be switched on. There are a few rules regarding the control of this light. It cannot be soft controlled. That is, there must be no external control mechanism for this light. It must be connected directly to the state of the tractive system. Any flaw in this will lead to disqualification, as it could be a serious safety hazard for the driver as well as track marshals. The next point to be discussed is the ready to drive sound. All electric cars must emit a unique sound, a characteristic sound that is not similar to any other sound that is made by the car. And this sound should last between 1 to 3 seconds, and it should be triggered when the car enters the ready to drive state. So every time the car is switched to the ready to drive state, there must be a sound between 1 to 3 seconds that indicates it is ready to drive. Regarding the driver feedback system, there are 4 compulsory displays that must be shown to the driver at all time. These are the energy system voltage, the energy system case temperature, and the tractive system case temperature, as well as the state of charge. So these 4 parameters must be displayed at all times to the driver when the vehicle is turned on and also when it is running. Other information apart from this can also be displayed, but these 4 must always be visible. So that is it regarding the points that we wanted to discuss. Thank you so much for attending. And if you have any questions or queries or doubts regarding what we have discussed or anything else that is present in the rulebook, please feel free to contact us. There's a contact us section on our webpage, or you can email us. Thank you.